Welcome to Table Talk 0.5. Today, we're talking about Session 0 and some general tabletop gaming things. Check out our YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit pages if you want to reach out with suggestions for things you want us to talk about, or send us an email at lateafternoongaming@gmail.com. With that, please enjoy this round of Table Talk. Alright, so begins Table Talk 0.5 for the GRU campaign. Oh, so starting with the Ombudsman report for this Table Talk, for those joining us for the Golden River Underground campaign, we start Table Talk. Well, I guess, should we talk about what Table Talk is first?
Sure.
So...
No.
Okay, then we won't. We start with the Ombudsman report, which is corrections and data and facts from the previous Table Talk and the session that we might have gotten wrong. So we didn't really have the chance to get anything wrong last time.
Actually, not true.
I was gonna say, with the exception of the things that we did. So luckily, stranger to the podcast, Nerf, hooked us up with a rule correction, which is that... Where was it? Hang on, I didn't write this one down.
The one they hit me with was, I had said that you needed to roll under the skill for it to be a pass.
And 0-0 was a crit success.
Right, and about 100 people informed me that that's wrong and that I don't know how to play Delta Green. Just for context, we were describing the D100 system, and so I was saying, for example, if you make a firearms check, the way this works is if you have 60 in firearms, you roll a D100, and you need to roll between 00 and 59 in order to pass, where 00 and every other double below passing, so 11, 22, and so on, are crits. And I can't remember, that's true for something. I think it's Mothership.
Sure.
But in Delta Green, 00 is 100, and in order to pass, you actually roll between 1 and 60. So, now we know.
Now we know.
And I frankly, I lost a lot of friends over this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Deservedly.
as well you should have. Yes. So one thing that, Duncan, you brought up during the session was you implied that 90s music was better than today's music. This was a discussion about Tim Barr's living arrangement, how his apartment, upstairs and around him would be loud all the time with a bunch of music and people partying and stuff. You said, but at least because it's the 90s, the music would be better. Is that a comment you stand by? What are you basing this on?
You're saying compared to like the music of today, 2023?
Yes.
Yes. Stand by it.
Okay. Are there any particular songs you're thinking of from the era? Or is it more a comment on the just general decline of art in our time?
It's a comment on the decline of society.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and fact check that.
No, I agree. That's fine.
It's just Black Hole Sun on loop.
Did that come out in the
I think
90s?
that's early 2000s.
Yeah.
Nope, 1994.
Really?
Oh, well, that is a great song.
Okay, well, I think that proves me right then.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Chris Cornell.
Yeah. All right, well, there you go. If you needed any other evidence...
But Jack, what about all the acoustic covers of Black Hole Sun that are coming out these days? Is that not better?
Like the one from Westworld?
Is there one from Westworld?
Yeah.
Okay. I stopped watching after season 1.
Yeah. I think most people did. Mm-hmm. I don't think it ever ended. Like, I think they canceled the last season.
Good call, probably.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you disagree with any element of or ruling within Table Talk or the Ombudsman report, you can let us know at we have an email address, I think.
It's lateafternoongaming@gmail.com.
lateafternoongaming@gmail.com.
Leave something on the subreddit. Comment on our YouTube video. There's so many ways to get in touch.
Please talk to us.
Hit us up on Venmo.
Message me on Instagram. However you want to get in touch with us, go for it. You would be the first to do so.
Oh, yeah, and we also want to plug Spalted Dolphin.
Yes, that is something I did want to bring up. So on the sessions, like the actual Golden River Underground sessions, that is a Delta Green podcast episode. And due to Delta Green rules about the use of their intellectual property, we can't have sponsors or advertise things or anything on those podcasts. Table Talk is not a Delta Green podcast. So...
Although we do talk about Delta Green on it.
But we don't
consume Delta Green content.
Yeah, we are referencing our own podcast, which has Delta Green in it, but we are not playing Delta Green in it, so it's not a Delta Green podcast. So we, to Duncan's point, we can shout out brands, and we could, in fact, be officially sponsored by something during Table Talk, just not during our actual sessions. That's how I interpret those rules.
Yes, that is also how I interpret them. So, for example, Jack, just to clarify this, if we played a session of Delta Green where we referenced Table Talk and we recorded that session, we would not be able to advertise Spalted Dolphin. Does that make sense?
How deep
Whereas,
does this go?
If we had a session of Table Talk that we recorded where we referenced the Delta Green episode that had to do with Table Talk, it would be totally fine for us to talk about Spalted Dolphin.
Exactly right.
Just to untangle that for you.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel enlightened.
So let's talk about Spalted Dolphin for a second.
So Spalted Dolphin is a small, up-and-coming Etsy store that sells quality gaming products made out of the finest materials. A lot of fancy woods, very colorful and durable leathers. Specifically right now they're focusing on dice trays of various sizes. And what I really like about them is they're built like tanks, and they're extremely loud when you roll in them, on purpose. Like, they're just very percussive, so that's really satisfying. They are also making dice bags, which are useful when you collect as many dice as I do. So I'm sure they're going to be making other stuff soon. They've made a couple of custom items for me because I've bitched about niche Dungeon Master problems. But anyway, Spalted Dolphin, check them out on Etsy. They keep putting out more and more stuff, and all of it is fantastic.
Hey, Duncan, is that business veteran owned?
I believe that it is, Shepard.
It is, if that's what you're into. If not, if you're like anti-veteran, it is not veteran owned. So don't worry about
Now, what
that.
I will say is whether or not it's veteran owned, based on my personal knowledge of the individuals running the shop, it is almost certainly, they appear to be disabled, mentally and otherwise.
no doubt.
They're veterans, but if it helps, they also, hate the military. So,
I mean, as all veterans do.
Whatever your thing is, I'm sure they can check that box. That's one of the great things about Spalted Dolphin, is they can become whoever you need them to be.
Right.
But no, seriously, we've talked about Wormwood for hours on Table Talk, and I am a big Wormwood fan. The stuff that Spalted Dolphin is making is generally, I mean, it's kind of in the same vein. It's like high-end tabletop gaming gear, but it is considerably beefier, more intimidating on the table, louder. Like, it's meant to be the Wormwood killer.
And they got the production outputs to make that happen.
They do not have the production output to make that happen.
If you want to see a picture of one, you can go to the Late Afternoon Gaming Instagram and look at the first post I ever made. It's of my Wormwood dice in a Spalted Dolphin dice tray. That was really all I had for the Ombudsman report. For our podcast statistics, we are up to 1,377 all-time downloads.
Is that per episode?
That can be the one time we make that joke during this campaign, and then let's never make it again.
Okay, yeah, I probably won't ever do it again.
Thank you. I don't think we've got any new countries. Was Indonesia in our previous list? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Well, we have 9 Indonesian listeners. Welcome to the party. Thank you for choosing Late Afternoon Gaming as your podcast of choice. Please tell all your friends about Late
geographic
Afternoon Gaming.
leap for us.
Yeah, it was mostly... Well, no, we had Singapore before. So we had people in the area. We're pretty global at this point. We've got Europe, we've got Asia, we've got South America,
Right.
we've got Africa.
Do we have any Antarctic listeners?
Not yet, and I can only see the top 10 countries of listens. But with Romania being number 10 with 2 listens, I don't think there's a lot of people beneath that.
Because I have been taking a lot of time off work to travel abroad, and just as soon as I get to the terminal, I download the podcast, and then I get back on a plane.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I think our YouTube channel has like 17 views, so that's pretty good too.
Nice. Is that pretty big for YouTube, or?
I think that puts us somewhere in the top half of all videos.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty good. So we're cruising to success.
Nice. Yeah, because I do want to quit my day job soon.
I already have.
Again.
I'm really banking on this, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a rent payment coming up, and no real plan for that.
Well, I'm hoping that by the time my next, I shouldn't even need a paycheck. I can just mention to the real estate company that, I can give them a lot of exposure, with our platform.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I could just ask my leasing office if they accept clout.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'll have my agent talk to them.
So our Discord channel, Table Talk Material, is full of stuff, but most of it is not actually good Table Talk material. Oh, one thing I did want to talk about, though, that I said during, I believe, our last Table Talk, is I got a new computer. So the computer that I had been using when we were doing our previous campaign, the previous season of Late Afternoon Gaming for my podcast listeners, I had made it in 2016, so by the time we were making tail end of last year, it was over 6 years old. It was definitely starting to show its age, and it just straight up died, which is one of several reasons why we had to take that 6-month hiatus. So I got a brand spanking new computer. It's way more powerful, has 4 times the RAM of my previous computer, all sorts of stuff like that. And I was curious how much of a difference it would make when I was editing, how much easier would it be to do the things that I do when I edit? And the answer is, it's a massive difference. It's so much faster. And it's really quite wonderful, because what we do is we record we export our recordings as WAVs, which are lossless audio files, and then I throw them in Audacity. I do the editing there. Well, the total size of the files that we would be using was equal to or greater than the total size of my RAM previously. Now it's a quarter of that size.
How much did you have?
I only had 16 gigs.
Oh, okay.
Because my RAM slots were one by one dying, and so I couldn't use all of them. But now I have 64 gigs of RAM in my new computer. And
what processor did you get?
I got an AMD something. Let me look it up. I got a big beefy AMD one.
Okay. Yeah, I remember mine was a couple of years ago now. I had a 5950X, but that's not much these days.
But anyway, so huge difference. It also, those videos that I put out on YouTube and Instagram, editing those and doing the render for the effect was very, very fast. Doing that same thing on my previous computer, doing it in 720p for a 2-hour session, the render, I want to say, took how long was it? It was 2 straight days, whereas it took an hour with this one. It was ridiculous. So huge difference. Good decision all around. I'm very happy with this computer. I got it from iBuyPower.
Nice.
We are not sponsored. We're not sponsored by anyone, including Spalted Dolphin, but iBuyPower is a nice site for getting a computer made.
I think that's about to change.
The sponsorship thing?
Yeah. I not for any particular reason. I just feel that it is about to turn.
The wind is blowing. I can feel it.
I woke up this morning and thought, I'm going to get sponsored today.
Cuisinart's gonna finally start calling me back.
Hamilton Beach is going to sponsor us.
Oh, here's someone who's not going to sponsor us, TV Tropes. So I was trying to make a TV Tropes account so that I could ask a question on TV Tropes, and they denied my account request because I was logged on a cell phone when I applied for my account.
Seems reasonable, yeah.
I was like, what in the world? If they detect that you are using a mobile phone when doing it or using a VPN, they deny your account request or a public Wi-Fi. It's like,
That's odd.
It's because they want to sell that information.
or residential internet connections that assign IPs basically that use DHCP. It's like, yeah, all like your Wi-Fi routers use a dynamic allocation for
I
IP
had no
addresses.
idea TV Tropes was gatekeeping like this.
It's like the only way you can get an account made is if you go to TV Tropes HQ and plug in your computer there. It's very bizarre.
So are you planning on doing that, or?
No, I think I'm pretty much done with TV Tropes. I mean, I love TV Tropes. I'm done trying to make it a count. It's just not worth my time.
Yeah, what's going on over there, TV Tropes? Send us an email at lateafternoongaming.com to explain yourself.
Yeah, we'll deny it though.
Yeah. And I don't mind what device you send it. You can send the email from your Apple Watch if you want. We don't care.
Yeah, that's fine by
We
me.
care about the substance of your contributions, not where they come from.
Yeah, the late afternoon gaming email is just filled with spam, so I don't think we've gotten any any new ad partner requests. But make no mistake, listeners, we will sell out at the earliest opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the whole point.
Right.
We don't even like each other. Like, we're just doing this to make money.
The only reason I look ethical is because I have not yet been given an opportunity to send.
Yeah, we'll get there. I am finally living out my dream as a brand influencer for Spalted Dolphin. I'll be it on a
Brand
small
ambassador.
scale. Brand ambassador. But so I'm trying to get swag. Obviously I want to get a big wrap for my car.
Are you gonna put that on top of your anime girl wrap that you put on it?
Yeah, well, it's getting kind of scuffed, so... Oh, speaking of, actually, I don't know if this is a wrap or not. There was a car behind me yesterday that, it looked like it was made of brass.
Okay.
And it wasn't...
It was.
It was a pretty nice car. I think it was a Maserati.
Oh my god.
And I couldn't figure out if it was if that's a stock thing or if they had this done to the car. It was gaudy enough that I assume it was aftermarket, but it was extremely distracting. But I had forgotten to look that up until just now.
I think I saw a video once where somebody had a wrap for their car that made it look like it was cell shaded.
That's awesome.
See, I'm looking this up now because I want to show you guys.
The one of my favorite aftermarket modifications that I've seen, and I believe you guys are familiar with this as well, in places where you get a not insignificant amount of snow in the winter. What some people will do is it's the opposite of a spinning rim. It's
I've seen this. Yeah.
It's a rim that doesn't move.
Okay.
And so it just looks like it looks like you're skidding. It looks like you have lost control of your vehicle.
It's
Spinners
dangerous.
also have that effect sometimes. But now this just ensures that you always have that effect.
Yes. And so you'll see this and you'll slam on the brakes because this guy's not going to be able to stop because he's clearly trying to stop right now and it's not working.
That's so dumb.
Okay,
bad.
I'm posting a picture in Table Talk material. This is not the right model of car. It was a sedan, and it's not the right color either. So the one I posted is this metallic green, and the one I saw yesterday, like I said, it looked like brass.
This is like frustratingly shiny.
Yes.
I really like the color, but
It's like a deep emerald.
but if it was like a matte, it'd be nicer than this looks awful.
And you see a car like that though, and you expect okay, it's going to be a dude driving. It's probably going to be a younger dude. Not the case. It was like a middle-aged woman who was driving relatively slowly.
It is interesting to me how, with a car like this, I expect it to either be incredibly classy or somehow, despite how expensive it is, super trashy.
Yes.
There's very little middle ground. People either buy it and are elegant and cool, or they're just complete shitheads.
Well, in this case, they were just confusing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I keyed it up.
Good.
Excellent.
You keyed up its anime rap that it had.
I happen to have a bunch of sandpaper in the back of my car, so I made it matte.
Oh, I fixed it for you.
Yeah.
You keyed that into their car door as you left.
Yeah. I'm scrolling through so just so the listeners know what we're up to. I, in a stroke of genius, established like a dedicated channel on Discord for material that we were going to talk about at Table Talk, and that was posting it there meant we're going to talk about it at Table Talk, and it's off limits otherwise because we hang out throughout the week and we would have these interesting conversations and then show up to Table Talk and be like, well, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
So we have not been diligently adding to it recently. So far I see a recipe for white chicken chili,
Which has been discussed at
I
length.
see some COVID fake news.
What, you mean the fake news that COVID exists?
Yes, that is what I mean. A discussion about printer tracking dots.
Yeah. Well,
By the way,
thing is,
listeners, if you didn't know that, your printers are identifiable.
yeah, your printer has betrayed you already. You didn't
Right.
even know it.
If you want to learn more, we discussed it in a previous Table Talk, so go listen to all of those.
Exactly.
It's an important bit of, Delta Green tradecraft. Don't print things out on your own printer.
I had posted a Mick Gordon's rebuttal to his the cancellation of Mick Gordon, the guy who created the Doom soundtrack and the Doom
Yeah.
Eternal soundtrack.
Did he get canceled?
That wasn't canceled, but
Yeah, that's like a fascinating saga. That Mick Gordon seems to have pretty decisively won at the end.
and good for him.
Yeah, or at least on the hearts and minds front. I don't know, financially where he stands now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loses, or the smaller party tends to lose in situations like that, and I think this is probably no different. Like, I'm sure they didn't resolve whatever contractual issues came from that job, and then it's going to be on the mind of people hiring him of like, well, hang on, what was that? And then looking into it, even if they decide that he was victorious, or he was in the right and did everything correctly, it's still better just to never have had that conversation.
Sure.
So, despite the fact that he won, he, in a sense, still lost, in my opinion, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
The man can sure make some good music.
Yeah, there are several YouTube videos up that are just mixes or playlists of Doom and Doom Eternal tracks, and I will frequently play those when I'm running DCC.
It seems fitting, yeah.
Yeah, and just like this hellscape combat that
Yes.
there are 7 PCs are going to die in this one.
Right.
There's something funny to me, the idea of playing a song called The Only Thing They Fear Is You, when it is in fact your players who are afraid of everything and the world does not care about them at all.
Right. It's the you is the dungeon master.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're
Yeah.
playing the demons in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to listen to that whenever I'm feeling depressed. I put on some Doom and then I get turbo depressed.
But you were
I'm
going
depressed
to say
but angry. Yeah. Duncan, I'm seeing in here that you had a really good Delta Green character idea. Ronald Langstrom, professor of religious symbology at a local community college.
Yes. Well, I had been rewatching I think I just rewatched the Da Vinci Code and thought, wouldn't it be funny to have a Delta Green character that's like a cheap knockoff of what is his name?
Robert Langstrom.
Robert Langdon.
Langdon. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've read a couple other Dan Brown books. They're all kind of the same. I feel like they're not bad. I don't know. Him and Michael Crichton are kind of indistinguishable in some sense to me.
I think I've only read one Dan Brown book, but no, I have an affinity for Delta Green player characters that have that are not combat oriented. And I play in a regular Delta Green campaign where I will often try, like you read the Delta Green source material and they recommend, they're like, oh, what if you're a CIA analyst? What if you're an anthropologist? Like all these interesting academic or soft skill oriented characters. And I go, oh, that looks pretty cool. Maybe this time, instead of doing what everyone else does, where I'm like
a U.S. Marshal.
FBI hostage rescue team special operator. I'll be I'll be an anthropologist, and I'll know about like the occult aspects of this case, and then my guy just gets like shot in the head right away.
Right.
So,
do you want to talk about your most recent near-death experience?
Oh, which one?
The most recent one.
Which one? Be more specific.
The space one.
Oh yeah. We started playing a campaign where it's we're using the Delta Green system, but it's in space, and I hope the handler's listening to it right now. So our team was sent on a mission to a moon, and our lander was coming down, and we saw some weird stuff. It's Delta Green. There's like a weird glow that we need to investigate. And we set down a few hundred meters away from this scientific research station that's on the lunar surface. And some people start to get out of the lander. And one of the other player characters was showing me and another player character the glow that they saw coming from, closer to the research station on a screen inside the lander. So we're still inside. Other people are getting out. And the people getting out of the lander can see that there is a rover driving from the research station up to the lander, and it's coming at us pretty fast. And so they are radioing the guy driving the lander saying like, hey, slow down or turn. What are you doing? You're going to hit our lander. And the handler asks, okay, well, you guys inside, what do you want to do? Because you can hear this on the radio. And we were like, well, we all want to get out of the lander and like run away as quickly as possible because it sounds like they're gonna crash. He's just, okay, make a luck check. The other two guys pass, I fail. He's like, all right, you don't make it out of the lander. Then he rolls like 18 dice. He's like, all right, the lander explodes and it does, like 20 damage. It's like, all right, well, I have 10 HP. So, like within 15 minutes of starting this new campaign, like my character's dead. So I was like, yeah, I'm dead now. And then I think he realized like, oh, this is not a good way to start.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, you're unconscious. Like, I'm dead. I'm gonna go to sleep now. I'm done for the night.
Yeah.
And I did walk away for a little while. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. Because that campaign is like a meat grinder for my characters in particular, which is in part driven by decisions that I make. But no, I did eventually come back, but took a significantly more passive role.
That took a more butthurt role after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's that's frustrating. But what you were just saying about your own decisions, you talked about it before off the podcast, is there's sometimes players, not necessarily here, but in a lot of cases, especially in a dangerous campaign, will be very hesitant to make bold decisions or sometimes make decisions at all, because for fear of their character dying or whatever. And hey, well, let's just keep investigating, or hey, let's just look at this one more thing and not like do the thing that needs doing.
Yeah, I think in Delta Green in particular that can be tricky because everyone knows going in that it's deadly, and everyone also knows going in, like Delta Green has the complicating factor of just learning things, like obtaining information can hurt you.
Right.
And so that's a tricky situation to navigate as a like mystery problem solving game, that if you obtain clues that may hurt you.
Mm-hmm. It's a head scratcher.
Yeah, and where that can go a lot of the time though is it becomes an analysis paralysis thing. People just lock up, and so you can't move from one room to another. Like, you can't open a door without discussing it for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I have found that when I run Delta Green, in order to overcome that, because you can't just force it, you need to give the players reasons to shake out of that. Like, you have to apply some kind of time pressure. Yeah, there has to be a bomb that's going to go off that they can't wait here because they're not going to be able to defuse it from here. Like, you've got to give them some narrative reason to take the risk. But that's not always easy to do. So, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this campaign, is because I think running these mysteries is tricky, but I think there are cool things we can do narratively if it's long form. And I think things like staying on the case, monitoring how successful things were, or following up on things that you maybe dead-ended on previously, is never something we've had the opportunity to do before. Mm-hmm. So,
here are two situations that I think are going to come up. We are at something of a disadvantage because Jack and I are relatively unintelligent, and there's only two of us. So, there's going to be things that we run into during these where we're going to go, oh man, I don't know how to do this. Or like, I don't know what to do next. So two things are going to happen. One, we're going to, end a session just being like, oh man, what do we do next? Listen to it later and then come up with all these ideas. And then we enter the next session, execute all of them. None of them are good, and then we're right back where we started. So that's going to happen a lot. The other thing that's going to happen is Nerf is going to listen to the podcast, and then he's going to give us ideas, and then we're going to do that, and it's going to work much better. Those are two situations that are probably going to occur multiple times throughout this campaign.
I think that is likely true. Oh, and I want to change something that I said last time, which is I don't intend to run a closed table.
Okay.
I think you're right, Shepard. Like, the nature of this being a podcast and the fact that there are only two of you and one of you has to edit the whole thing just makes that not make sense.
Sure.
So we'll keep it open.
Yeah, I think that we're pretty good about compartmentalizing what our characters know.
I actually had an instance. This is a couple of weeks ago. I run an in-person DCC game, and I was doing the same combat I was describing to you last night, Shepard. Mm-hmm. Which, to set this up very quickly, the player characters were making their way through the jungle, and they needed to climb to the top of this very tall spire to get a look at the surrounding area and map a few things. But the spire is inhabited by these winged creatures that fly around during the daytime and can see you if you're trying to climb up the face. And so the way you want to get to the top is the whole thing is sort of honeycombed with caverns, and the entrance to the caverns is about 50 feet off the ground. There's like a cave, a hole in the side of the spire, and so they, like one at a time, they were climbing up a rope into this cave, and it's a pretty big party. And one of the first people into the cave realized that the cave was infested with giant spiders that weren't moving at the time. They just, as their eyes adjusted to the dark, they realized, oh shit, there are giant spiders in here. But by that point, they were trying to sneak up into this cave, and so a handful of people were holding ropes for other people that are slowly coming up one at a time, and there's no way for you to communicate down to the ground to tell them to stop coming up without shouting.
Which could also alert the spiders.
Well, right, and so this gets very tense, and eventually someone makes a wrong move, and the spiders attack, and the spiders, some of them begin attacking the people holding the rope that is supporting, two other PCs that are well off the ground by that point. And I had a player who I think he had someone who was climbing up, who had just started their ascent, and when it came to his turn, he started to say like, oh, I don't want to climb up anymore. And then he said, oh, no, never mind. I don't know that. So I'm like charging up that rope because I, just like the guy before me was doing. And it was like a pretty new player. So I was very impressed that I didn't even have to say anything. Like they were so bought into the scenario that, he wanted to play his part. So anyway, that was definitely an award inspiration kind of moment.
Well, and I think especially for a new player, that can be an instinct that, just seems obviously right or is completely unintuitive. A lot of times it can depend on what they've heard other people say at the table or if they've watched podcasts or videos or whatever.
I think a lot of it is what they play, because in many cases, this is a question I had because I had a friend who was teaching me how to play Advanced Squad Leader a couple of weeks ago, which is that really crunchy squad level war game. And it's really important to know where your other squads are when you're moving things. And I asked him, is it kosher for me to, am I supposed to pretend to be God and move these guys around, even though I know Squad A really doesn't know what Squad B is doing? And the answer is yes. Like, that's just how this game works.
Sure.
Okay.
Whether you want to say that they're able to communicate via radio or something, you will absolutely get your ass kicked if you try to compartmentalize your squads. Like the game is just, you can see the whole board, move the pieces optimally, which is of course not realistic, but that's the way the game is played.
Right. Yeah. Which is funny because in real life, that is one of the biggest struggles of small unit tactics is being able to communicate and coordinate once you've begun an operation.
Right.
So that's interesting to hear, given how crunchy you said it is and how in the weeds it gets with so many relatively minute details.
And there are kind of metagame mechanics where, for example, if a lot of war games have things like resolve or morale checks, where if enough of a particular unit gets wiped out, you have to make a check to see if they're degraded in some way or if they're if they retreat. And in this game, and I'm gonna probably be slightly wrong describing this, but the point stands. You can be put essentially if you enough of your guys get taken out in a particular squad or other unit, you make a resolve check to see if they panic. And if they do, they have to move away from at least the enemy unit that was doing that damage to them, and they can't move closer to any other movement or any other unit that they can see. But they can move closer to an enemy unit that they can't see or they haven't interacted with.
Okay.
So that is a case where you as the player know that they're actually moving closer to someone else, but that unit wouldn't know that. So there are rules that sort of address the limited knowledge of the individual units, but from a strategy and a tactics standpoint, you might actually use that as an opportunity to advance them towards another unit, and that's kosher.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does sound like an interesting game, but not one that I would be willing to sink my teeth into.
From what you have told me, it is not something that I will ever touch.
I think it's very much a who you play it with kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I would not want to play this every week, and I would not want to play it with someone who is really serious about it. But to play with an old friend where we're going to sit down and do that, and then we're going to go out to lunch later, that's pretty fun. Okay, so what other topics do we want to hit?
Well, I do notice that in table talk material, there's a thing about multi-drug resistant gonorrhea.
Where is that? I didn't see that.
It's pretty recent. It was it's right under the.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
this is the next pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
This was back in March though, so we're probably fine now.
Yeah, we flattened the curve already.
Yeah.
I do just want to say, kind of, this is going a bit back in the conversation, but taking actions in the game that aren't necessarily optimal because you're working with the information your character has rather than the information that you have. I will absolutely be making incredibly toxic plays and then justifying it by saying, well, it's what my character would do. It's what my character would do.
Oh yeah, that's good. My character picks your pocket and runs away with all your money. Hey, it's just what I would do.
I'm just playing the game. And
good. No,
if anything happens to Tim, I have a second character that is an angry clown mime who attacks anybody and everybody on site.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So
right.
So if you don't want that in your game, Tim can't die.
Yeah, smart.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting bit of player blackmail.
Yeah.
No, I went to an in-person Dungeons and Dragons game. This is maybe like a month ago, where basically the plot was 4 of us ended up in like a haunted house, where the house is trying to kill you, kind of thing, and we all got separated by a trap very soon after entering. And one guy got caught in this thing where it was like a tentacle was sucking him up into the ceiling and, was either going to choke him to death or swallow him up or who knows. Yeah, a fantasy of mine that unfortunately another character got to experience. But we were like comically avoiding that room, like going into it because we were like, well, I don't know where he is. I can't hear him. And then we're all just doing something else. And so every time this guy's turn would come up, it's like, well, all right, try and escape. And he was playing a weak character that had to survive a strength check. And then we eventually, when we saw that he had won his encounter, then we went over and opened the door. The player, he hadn't played D&D in like 12 years or something. And so we were saying it would have been awesome if his first experience coming back was immediately dying to a trap because no one would help him.
Now, when he got done with this experience, did he say, "Yep, this is exactly how I remember it"?
He was like, "Yeah, this is pretty standard, I think," because I think he had played earlier versions of D&D. I don't know if it wasn't advanced or anything, but Duncan, I know you had played some advanced D&D, and it's one of those things where you walk around everywhere, like tapping every surface before you walk on it with a 10-foot pole.
Yes, and I think, in part that encourages some of the Delta Green bad behaviors that I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Such
read
as
that overcaution. I'm writing these down.
Yeah, it's still like absurd overcaution. But it's a balance. Like, if you don't want the players to be absurdly cautious, you have to give them a reason not to be.
Sure. Yeah. That's a really good point because it all you were talking about earlier. You're not incentivized in some ways to collect information because it has the potential to decrease your sanity or whatever, but there has to be some reason to advance.
Well, and one of the things that I have been doing for a couple of years now, and I stand by, is something I noticed early on was that players would be very conservative because they're mechanically incentivized to be very conservative. And then when they either don't solve the mystery or they do, but with a minimum amount of information because they didn't want to go into any other rooms, so they don't have any details. As soon as the game is over, they'll then ask you, okay, so what really happened? What was in there? What was he doing? And so I quickly adopted a policy of the player only gets to find out what the character found out. Like, I won't reveal anything to you out of game. Right. And so the only way for you to obtain this information as a player is to do it in character. So, and essentially making it so that, you want to go into that room to satisfy your curiosity, which I think is more powerful than any of the mechanical stuff.
Sure. No, I remember you did this to me one time, and deservedly so. I think you were like playtesting, or no, I think other people were going to show up and it ended up just being me, but I was running a one operative or one agent Delta Green session with you. And what you had told me at the beginning of the session, the handler told my character was like, hey, your job is to go find out what's going on, report back. With the, obviously I'm supposed to do more than that once I get there, but that's just That's what you literally said. And so when I got to the town and found out what was going on, that's what I did. I was like, okay, collect some information, and then I'll report back to the handler. Like, job done. It seems pretty dangerous, and I shouldn't tackle that alone. And you just kind of like, we were doing it over Discord, but I could picture you just like tapping your finger and staring at the monitor and being like, yep, all right, mission accomplished. And so then I did do that. I asked, okay, well, you're like, but what if I had gone in? You're like, I'm not going to tell you. Like, that, like, you ruined that for yourself. I'm not about to.
Thanks for playing Delta Green.
Right. I'm not gonna let you just walk away and then and then be like, well, here's all the fun things that could have happened with no risk.
So there is there's like an in-community euphemism for this, and it's called burn it all down. Mm-hmm. Like there are many scenarios where it seems like, when you find out, oh, there's a lab that was maybe doing some kind of like secretive government research on alien technology or something, and one of the researchers got infected with in the place, like, I want to burn it down.
I'm gonna blow it up. I blow
up the facility. And you're like, well, okay. We can kind of game out what that looks like, but there's no like interviewing people or trying to figure out what happened, or there's a haunted house, burn it down. Somebody learned something and you need to figure out what kill them. So a big part of successfully crafting a good Delta Green scenario is making sure that doesn't work. Or at least adding risk to something like that, so that that can't just be a silver bullet. Is that if I'm just sufficiently destructive, I never have to engage with the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the solution to that is making sure that you put so many bureaucratic roadblocks in the way when they play that they can never even engage with the story.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like my smash hit short story, A Game Night Gone Wrong, which I'll post on the subreddit if we ever get anyone else on there.
Well, the content needs to be there, and then if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah. If you have questions about our subreddit, email us at lateafternoongaming@gmail.com.
Perfect, yeah. So what I had done in the past with the subreddit was I had, I would post the sessions, like, hey, session whatever is out, and then I had some posts that were like, hey, what are some table talk? What are some things that you want us to talk about on Table Talk? Or, what was your favorite thing that hasn't this session? Or who should get inspiration? Things like that. I was putting things on the subreddit, and I don't even think you guys joined the subreddit.
No, I don't have a Reddit account anymore.
Neither do I.
Well, yeah, I made one like a special lag shepherd account for that. But that one, that might be if we ever do get a good amount of listeners, maybe we can attract some people to it, because it is a good it's a good messaging board type system.
You're obviously right about that. But what I do want to put out there is, listeners, if you're thinking about signing up for an account with a mobile device or using a VPN,
you better not.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
I think that we should just kind of spice it up and make it a little more interesting to be around. We should kind of be like the new War Thunder, where we're constantly leaking classified documents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully, a lot of it should have been declassified now, because it's all going to be from 95. So if it's secret, how long does it take to declassify secret? Is it 25 years?
It depends, but yes, 25 is a common number.
Yeah. So as long as it's not top secret, I think we should be fine. Plus,
I'll go ahead and open my vault then.
Yeah, I think our Discord's already on the cusp of being investigated. So
yeah,
there's a lot of, we use the word based a lot, and apparently that puts you on the list.
Oh, is that one of the FBI watch list words?
Yeah, somebody posted that a while back. Where,
oh my god!
Let me find it.
I don't want to go to base jail.
Yeah, the base camp.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah. So this is from April, New York Post. FBI documents associate internet slang like based and red pill with extremism.
Yep, that's it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. New documents released. Well, I won't read the whole thing, but part of this document refers specifically to incels. The threat overview describes them as possibly seeking to commit violence in support of their beliefs that society unjustly denies them sexual or romantic attention, to which they believe they are entitled. So this all checks out.
I just didn't think they'd be onto us this quickly. Well, it's like I can't remember the dude's name, but there's that JCS.
I was gonna bring that up.
Video with the dude that hit a bunch of people with a van.
I think it was in Canada, wasn't it?
That sounds right.
There's so many stories about people hitting a bunch of people with a van.
So
that could refer to so many different things.
This one he's a guy that, like, in the interview, the police interrogation, he like explains all of the incel terms and logic to the detective to justify why he mowed down all the people with the van. And it's like it's a horrifying crime, but just hear someone say it like that, not reading it on a forum, but to hear someone say that seriously is just bizarre.
Yeah. JCS, Criminal Psychology, is like one of the best YouTube channels ever, and he just started posting content again for the first time in a couple years. So it's absolutely genius stuff. My character Simon Redding is kind of based on a lot of the
Whoa! Don't say that.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god! His characterization is inspired by a lot of the subjects of the interrogations of those videos. Not the police.
I think you've kind of based your personality.
Whoa!
You did it again.
Oh my god!
Some of those people too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hop on the euphemism treadmill.
Yeah. No, I think
every time
I'm
I
a lot
say based,
like,
it's with a T.
Okay.
Yeah, like a turkey. Yeah. No, I'm a lot like the one who there's a video from JCS about a guy who's pretending to be insane. I'm like the guy who's actually criminally insane, where I'm just very polite.
Yeah.
And just matter-of-factly describing all the horrible things I've done.
Yeah, he says like sir and ma'am every time he responds.
Like, hey, son, you know why I pulled you over? Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, it's a bad crime, but it's an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be criminally insane? What does that actually look like? Turns out it doesn't look like pretending there's like things in the room that are talking to you. With that, you think we should transition into the session? I think we need something funny to end this on. But
oh yeah, Jack, could you tell us a joke?
Based.
Oh no.
Good one.
All right, Shepard, I'll give you an opportunity. Just tell a funny joke.
Incel.
Boy, we're really
We're really knocking it out of the park.
This is a good.
here.
Hey guys,
Great to be back.
I promise that Table Talk is entertaining, and you should continue to listen to it.
Yeah, listeners, I'm gonna talk to both of them. They will be funnier in session.
Yeah, we need.
Who's the? Well, here's something that we need to.
We do not need to bring this back. We really don't.
It's like you already know what I'm gonna say. Okay, we'll skip that.
I actually have no idea where this is going.
He was gonna bring back Serial Killer of the Week.
Find, torture, and chill.
Find, torture,
Yeah.
chill. Yeah.
You get. I mean, that's pretty funny, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's even funnier without any of the build-up or any of the context.
Yeah, let's just
Right.
leave it at that and
When you
leave
just
it to
kind
the
of put
listener's
it out there,
imagination.
and yeah.
Yeah. All right.